Hey, you're watching Half Asian Tarot Queen. I'm Lisa, here to do a reading. And so the last reading that I did was really intense, and it was kind of like speaking of this just sort of like cataclysmic change that was gonna happen in slow motion. I mean, it was like all major arcana. Like, I'm gonna link the reading here, but it was just like, it was such an intense change that it was like almost like it like almost has to happen in slow motion because it's just so massive. And it's interesting because like at the beginning of the year, the reading for the year was called An Epic Reset, which I'm gonna link it up there. And it's almost like we're like kind of crossing over, like where the first half of the year the reset was happening kind of like on this internal level, and like removing all the mental blocks, like limiting beliefs, obstacles, in your like mind and heart almost. And now it's starting to take shape in the physical world. So this is where like all the drama happens, because it's almost like this is a reading that, I mean, the message that came through a bunch last year, where it was like, actually there was a reading, it was like happened on January 6th, like before all this stuff went haywire, but it was like called A Line in the Sand. And it was like talking about how there's like, I mean, there was this theme that started then where there's like these sort of bifurcating paths, where it's like some people were going to be like building their future, their foundation on, sort of like this newer future, and some people are trying to keep things going how they were in the past. And it's like, it's almost like generally when you kind of follow the path of the past, like it often is a solid foundational move, but during this period of time, like it's not. Like it's sort of like a wild card moment in time. And so it's almost like there's just this huge like disruption that's going to start happening, where it's like, the safe move isn't the safe that was always the safe move. It isn't the safe move anymore, and it's going to become like really evident. And like it's going to be really crazy, because it's like the people who take the safe move are the ones that, just by way of personality, aren't the ones that adapt well to change. So it's going to be this super huge change. And, like the adaptation kind of has already been made. So it's just going to become apparent, and to like a bunch of people who are going to be sort of blindsided by it, because it's like, this approach has always worked in the past, like why isn't it working this time? And it's like it's just gonna be like a major drama. That's what I'm getting. I don't know where all this stuff is coming from, but that's what's coming through. Okay, so when I do the split, we got Justice and we got the King of Pentacles. So what I just got from this is there's going to be like a new king of the hill, and that's part of the major upset. So when I pull down Justice, we got Six of Pentacles, we got the Devil, we got the Queen of Cups, the Five of Cups, the Hermit, oh my gosh, and then we got this. Like think these are all together because it's like a major upset, and it's going to be like sort of like two outcomes that go along with it, and they're going to be like totally polar opposites, like totally intense anxiety, fear, like not knowing what hit you, being blindsided, or like happiness, abundance, fertility, and like all of that. And it's like it's almost like with these cards, we have, you know, this, it's like Queen of Cups, who's kind of like, there's been all this disappointment that triggered this, you know, but the Queen of Cups is the one that sort of like followed her heart, shifted her vision, you know, towards what was positive and kept moving forward, you know. They went on the spiritual quest. Like, that's who's going to come out ahead, you know. They're going to be triumphing over all this adversity and toxicity. But again, like, the toxicity is, it's almost like the toxicity is going to be totally blindsided by this massive disruption and change. Okay, so when I pull down the King of Pentacles, we get the King of Cups. We get the Five of Wands. We get the Empress. We get the Three of Swords. Oh my gosh, this is so crazy. Okay. Seven of Pentacles, Three of Pentacles, Tower. So like this, these three kind of go together to me. Like, this is like a total turning point. Like, whoever's been like lying, deceiving, the toxic, whatever, like, that is getting blown up. And it's like this person is looking behind them. So like, they don't even see it coming because they're not looking ahead at the future. They're looking at the past. They're like trying to cover their trail. And so this thing is going to blow up and they're not even going to know what hit them. Like, this just reminded me of this, actually, this story. Like, I remember like when 9/11 happened, one of my best friends that I grew up with, she was late for work. She was walking, you know, sort of like away from the Twin Towers. And she was like, I remember her telling me this like vividly, but she was like, she saw this plane like flying down, you know, and she was thinking like, this plane is like flying really low. Like, that's really weird. And then she hears this, it hits behind her, you know, and she hears this huge explosion behind her. But then she sees someone walking towards her, looking straight at it. And she sees a look of shock and horror on their face. And then she like knows that something's wrong. So that's kind of what I'm getting. Like, this person, they're not looking forward. So this is going to happen and they're not going to even know what hit them. Like, it's going to be just like complete shock and awe. But there's going to be like an adjustment to the foundation. Like, it's going to totally shake up the foundations. Like, we're going to have to do this pruning, you know, to make things stable again. And it's going to be causing like all kinds of heartbreak and conflict. But it's almost like these characters, the Empress, the King of Cups, the King of Pentacles, these characters are going to come out, you know, on the right side of justice. So that's kind of a lot to take in, but I'm going to keep going. So I'm going to go now to the Mystical Shaman Oracle and see what we get from like the sort of spiritual perspective. See what comes out, because this, I mean, this is kind of like looking at like, I think the rest of the year, because it's like I said, this change is going to be so massive that it's like going to be happening in slow motion. Okay, so we have upper world and we have the moon. So yeah, like the ancestors, the heavenly realms, they're presiding over this situation. Like, this is something that is meant to happen, and it's part of the natural cycle of life, you know, whatever's happening. Like, there's like it's almost like there's a correction that needs to happen to sort of right the ship. So it's like the heavenly realms are sort of presiding over this, and they're trying to you know, make sure that things move forward in a functional way, you know, because this change it's been a long time coming, and it needs to happen so that we can like move forward, because we've been like sort of stagnant in this situation that's dysfunctional for a really long time, and it's like we can't kick the can down the road anymore. So like this massive disruption is sort of like necessary. Okay, so I'm going to the Intuitive Night Goddess, and I'm going to pick a couple cards here. Okay. Okay, interesting. So this is, I'm doing the light and the shadow elements again, like I was kind of doing at the beginning of the year. We have the Nymph of Wands. So this is, it's like the Page of Wands. So this is like good news. Like it's some kind of announcement of progress that's happening. We have this Nymph of Cups, which is like the Page of Cups. So this is like a positive offer, like of love coming in. We have the Eight of Cups, which is like walking away from a situation that no longer serves you, but like have like invested a lot of time and energy into. And then we have the Ten of Swords. So like the end of this era, like whatever this situation is, like it really, it's to the point where it has to end. And but it's like almost going to be like there's this going to be like this positive news or this positive development that's going to help to propel us forward into this new era. Okay, so I'm going to go to the light, because the Night Goddess, the shadow element, is that there is this positive message that's going to come through, but it is going to trigger a loss. Like we're going to have to lose some of the old to make room for the new. And so that's kind of the shadow element of it. It's like, it's almost like you got to have a good perspective about it, because it's going to lead to something positive, but there is going to be a loss. Like there's not really any way around that. So this is the first card that fell out. So we got Justice. So this is the oh my gosh, this is so crazy. So in the, okay. So at the bottom of the deck, we got the Past. So it's really interesting, because it's like we have this DNA like running through this situation, and we're like planting seeds for the future. But it's almost like there's this lineage that's running through this situation. So that's really interesting. It's almost like we're like healing some kind of generational pattern, whatever it is. It's like very foundational, you know, that's being shifted. So we got Justice, which fell under this. So the positive news is that, I mean, there's this justice coming through, which is giving us all the elements that we need to move forward. Like finally, this justice is happening, and this is almost like allowing for the movement to happen. But what's interesting is that underneath the Ten of Swords that we got in the shadow element, we also got another Ten of Swords. A double Ten of Swords. So, I mean, this is a really powerful message, because it's like there is no going back. This change is permanent. It's like epic. It's just like cannot be avoided. I mean, it's like a 10 of Swords, like double, you know? So it's just like a completely life-changing, but it's like beyond life-changing. It's like, it's almost like this pattern has been going on for generations and generations, and like now we have to change it. So like that's why it's going to be so like traumatic for like folks who are sort of like used to sort of doing things the way they've always been. Like that's why those are people are going to be like completely blindsided, because again, like this is a change that goes beyond our lifetime. It's almost like the Great Depression. Like it's from like another generation, you know, like it's that massive, you know? So again, like people are going to be blindsided, and it's going to be so intense and huge that like it's almost like indescribable. But then again, you know, there's like this thread from the past that's coming through. So it's almost like a larger cycle than just like our lifetime, but it is like a cycle that's happened before. And it's interesting because it comes through with this Seven of Cups. So it's going to cause all kinds of confusion, disruption, chaos. Like people are not even going to know what to do with themselves, except the people who have kind of tuned into this and sort of adjusted. Like, you know, like there's this reading that's been coming up a lot about how if it keeps on raining, the levee is going to break. Like the people who've kind of seen the writing on the wall, like that the levee is going to break, and that have kind of aligned themselves with that inevitability, those people are going to have a much easier time adapting to this, because it's like, it's just so massive that like, it's like, I'm at a loss for words. Like that's how massive it is. Like it almost kind of gives you the chills. Okay, I'm gonna go to the ancestors and angels, because we know that they're presiding over this situation, and it's just so epic that we'll see what kind of advice we can get. This is like, oh my gosh. Okay, wow. This was at the bottom of the deck when I pulled it out, and then it came out again. So I think this is a really important message. Okay. Wow. Okay. So at the bottom, we got the Shaolin Master. This came out in the last reading too. It's all about be graceful in movement and action, but it's also about Shaolin Master is like a master of your own energy and your own emotions. And it's not about like being reactive to whatever's going on. It's about having self-awareness and responding rather than reacting, and working with the energy instead of against it. Like so this is a message that's been coming through in the last couple of readings too, of like moving with intention and not just reacting from your emotions, because this is going to require like precision and intention and playing the long game. So then we got Air Guardian, shift your perception. We got Spring, see your seeds grow. And we got Protection Guardian, drop your shields. So that's really interesting. So it's like almost like we're gonna have to shift our perspective, to be in alignment with the new reality in order for our plants to like grow, for us to see our seeds grow. And we're also going to have to be open like to the new reality. Like, you cannot bury your head in the sand and pretend it's not happening. That's just going to make things worse. Like, this is about embracing the change, accepting it, and moving with grace and intention, because no matter what we do, like, you can't put the genie back in the bottle. Like, this change is so big that like it requires like a completely new way of dealing with reality. And it's massive. So yeah, we'll see where this goes. But it looks like we're in for a wild ride for the rest of the year. So yeah, I'll check in soon with more messages.